Hey, and welcome. Today we are going to explore the button, and you might think, well, yeah, my win rate is good, I don't need that, but let me assure you that you are very likely in it in this situation. And today we are going to focus on our bluffing range against recreationals and against regulars. Let's hop into some population stats first. So let's start with the big blind versus button. And on the left side, you see against regulars, and on the right side, you see it against recreationals. This is for my pool, mainly on winner marks. It's mixed between reg speeds and nitros. So on your pool, it can be, as always, different. So make sure to double check it. One thing that is quite important, you see that I picked it against regulars and against fish. Probably it will be like kind of tough to do it, but as soon as you have hand to note, you can do it with the range research. So one, you can just filter for fish. Usually I use just the hands filter between 0 and 50 or 0 and 75 hands, and for regulars I use like 200 hands or more. It depends a little bit on how many hands you have, etc. So you can adjust there a little bit. Because it is important not to take the overall stats, because they will lead to they can lead to very wrong conclusions. You should always make it separate, right, against fish and against regulars. But when you saw a couple of our coaching videos, you very likely know that. Okay, so on the first look, let's start with the fish, right? On the first look, if you just take the numbers, it might look as if it's not very good to barrel recreationals, right? Because like fold to c-bet 43%, and for me it's even red. And then on the turn 39, okay, doesn't look too good as well. River looks promising, 51%. However, these overall stats are like kind of useless, or like they don't really give you too much of an insight. You need to go more into details because the bet size matters, right? 39%, if you just always bet like 25% or 25% of the pot and they fold 39%, that would be awesome, right? But if you always pot bet the turn and they fold only 39%, that would be pretty bad, right? So it really depends. So we need to go into the distribution of the bet sizes to get a better picture. And that's very important. Because one of the best examples is this number here, 43. And well, like this is, I know how I play, and I use mainly small sizes, just the 1BB size on a lot of board structures. And as soon as there's like 2 Broadway or 3 Broadway boards, etc., or maybe a little bit more dynamic boards, then I use like a half board size. I rarely go above that. So I would say like 80% of my bets are just 1BB bets. And for that, like the 43% seems like a pretty good number. So they are overfolding quite a lot, right? So the pot is 4.5 big blinds deep, big blinds big, and I bet one BB. So our fold equity needed on the flop is like ridiculously low, and therefore this is already a good number. And then on the turn, you see a 39%, but we'll go deeper into the turn and river number. But for the direct comparison here, I put them next to each other. You see that actually regulars are way nittier than recreationals. So I think, I'll spoiler a little bit that we should go bananas against regulars for sure. Against recreationals, we need to be a little bit more picky, but there will be like plenty of spots that you will very likely miss, but we'll cover it today. And yeah, so we'll start with barreling turns and rivers, and we are not focusing too much on the flop because I think like most of you are playing the flop decently well, but the turns and rivers are where there are a lot of problems. And after that, we'll also take a look at the fold to delays and fold versus bet check bets. Because these are two spots that are not getting enough exploited from you guys, and from me as well, from time to time. Okay, good. So let's start with the fish population. So today we'll do both fish and regulars. Most of the time I focus on the recreationals, but today we'll do both. And yeah, so you see this 39 number is the overall, it's like the average of these. of these different bet sizes. And you see that when we bet small, and I use this size quite a bit, like this is like a relatively big database. I mean, not like super huge. It's like 1.5 million hands or something. It's like okay-ish. For me, it's like over 1 year of playing, and I used quite a bit of like 50% sizes, and also like a couple of like block bets in positions. I mean, it's technically not a block bet, but I like to call them like that. So like 1/3 pot with the intention to check back. Last week I made a coaching about my new favorite line, like bet check snap. So I don't use this anymore anyways at all. And you see like 50% is really not a good size on a turn. And this is the first takeaway we should get here, because I think a lot of like coaches in schools will teach you to just bet like 50%, but at least on Winamax it doesn't seem to work very well. Of course, it will still be profitable when you keep barreling the river, but I think when you take these numbers here, there's just such a big gap between the fault equity between 50%. And here, this 55 to 70%, this will usually be a 66% size, and 71 to 99% will usually be a 75% size. So I think between like 66 and 75, there's not too much of a difference. There's like 3 or 4% fault equity difference needed. This is a pretty good size that we should use as a bluff on the turn. Especially when deeper. When you're like 13, 14, 15 big blinds deep, then a couple of things will change a little bit. But usually like rag speed, full stack, 25 big blinds deep, we want to bet like 3/4 pot, because this will, actually 2 reasons. And I had it just like in a coaching yesterday, in a one-on-one coaching. And that's a very interesting concept, right? So if you bet 50% on the flop, right? If you bet 50% on the turn, and then you bet, let's say, 75% on the river, right? Then your fault equity is a little bit lower on the turn, but probably you have a little bit more fault equity on the river because your opponent's turn range is a little bit weaker, right? So if you bet 75% already on the turn and you bet another 75% on the river, your fault equity on the river will be a little bit lower, probably, right? However, overall, you'll pick up the pot more often on the turn, and if your opponent is folding on the river, you get an additional big blind, and that's quite big, right? So I think that putting this one additional big blind in on a turn, it's fine. Like if he's calling, it's fine. If he's folding, it's fine. Like we don't mind both things, because there's like a lot of upsides and not really too many downsides to that. Hop. Guess it's better here. Yeah. So here you see the needed fault equity, right? And here for 50%, it would be 33%. And actually, like they're meeting the MDF, basically quite accurate. But for like 75% size, we would need only 43% fault equity, and we have like 52. So that's like huge, like 9% additional fault equity. That's like a really massive. And yeah, so most ball structures we can just go bananas. And what I want to say is, I'm talking about like pure trash, right? I'm not talking about draws. Like this is just a bonus. As soon as you have equity, this is just a bonus, right? I'm talking about just nothing, or having even like ace queen high or something. We can use these kind of hands and not go for the showdown value, but just turn everything into a bluff, basically. Maybe not with pairs. With like pairs, mid pairs, etc. I would just use my favorite like bet check snap line, etc. So we will now make like a real nice plan. So we have a nice plan what we are doing with our middle pairs. We are having a nice plan what we are doing with our strong hands, and then we have a nice plan what we are doing with our pure bluffs. Today we will focus about the pure bluffs, and with pure bluffs we can just go crazy. I think, especially from the button against the big blind. Yes, so just wanted to show this very quickly to see like how good this actually is. And now, yeah, just to sum it up a little bit. Yeah, so bluff best bluff size is between 66 and 75%. You should bluff like overcards, ace x, king, queen, jack, etc. So like I would say like quote unquote scare cards. Very important, don't bluff with 50% sizing. but do your own population tendencies, right? Maybe in your pool it's different. Maybe you're playing iPoker twisters and it's different, or like GG poker, like you know what I mean. This is I would say this is pretty accurate for Winamax all stakes. Yeah, but it's different on other sides. It might be. From my experience, it is actually not different. But yeah, like there are some small nuances sometimes. There might be some small differences. Yeah, that's a big one. Like, don't bluff 4-card straights. 4-card straight boards. So 6, 7, 8, 9. If they call the flop and there's like a 9 on the turn, so the flop is 6, 7, 8, and there's a 9 on the turn, you shouldn't probably see bet this flop in the first place. But when you do, then don't bluff these ones. They really don't like to fold. 4-card straight, they fold like in 32% of the time. And like they're just calling every pair, or like a lot of pairs. They call all the bottom straights, and like they have of course also straights and 2 pairs, etc. Right? So it's really or a draw. Maybe they have like, I don't know, a jack, right? So they're probably not folding that as well. And so on 4-card straight, I just stopped bluffing at all. And 3-card flush boards are tricky, because on these ones, like if the third flush comes get there, you won't have much fold equity on a turn. But when the draw doesn't get there, so let's say there are like 3 hearts, they call every heart on a turn, every heart with a pair or without a pair, right? And they call this, and then they usually fold on the river to relatively small sizings. I just use like 50% pot, and it's working well. It's working really fine. So we have then probably like another like 50% fold equity or something on the river. Really, really good, right? So yeah, it's kind of tricky because like third flush card in a vacuum doesn't work too well. They call a lot, but when you combine it with the river, it's actually pretty good to bluff these. Okay, so let's sum it up. Yeah, the top is like it's a very big point. Not bluffing the turn and river, not and or like and. So actually bet, or like check bet, or like just bet somewhere, right? It's like it's a major league. So if you go to your database now, flop c-bet should be at least like around like 75%. I would say probably more, like GTO is even more. So I would say maybe probably 80%. And then on the turn, my personal stat is actually still too low, because I just started doing this kind of recently, maybe like 2-3 months ago. I started experimenting with being way more aggressive. Always had like extremely good win rate from the button, because I just know ranges pretty well. But now it got even better with like pumping up the aggression even more. And so I always didn't feel the need to improve a lot on the button. But it's incredible how much you can even tweak out of the button. I always thought like, I don't know, like 28 VBB on 100 is like good, but I think actually like 33 or something is possible. Like honestly, like it's ridiculous how good you can be from the button. It's just like, you think like 30 BB is good, and then you don't work on that anymore, right? And then you limit yourself with your beliefs that 30 is already like almost optimal, so why should I work on here? And then there's always someone coming who has like 35, and you think, what the fuck is happening? Is it variance? And then you take a look, and he has like 30,000 games. You know what I mean? And then like you realize, okay, what the fuck is this guy doing what I'm not doing? And then like, okay, so he's like hyper aggressive. And then you take a look at like what's happening, and then you might be lucky and have a really nice like study group from other really good players who are doing things differently, like our like iPoker study group, right? So this actually were discovered. So big shout out to Kuba and all the other guys who made this amazing work. And this is like incredible. And this is the power of community, right? So I'm actually really proud of our community, how it's going and how is everyone improving. I'm improving as well, right? So I'm learning from you, and you're learning from us. So that's how it should be. Okay. Yes. So Rex and Fish overfold heavily on basically every street across almost all runouts. Really just some some exceptions, right? Exceptions are like 4-cut straight and flush boards. And 4-cut straights might even work against regulars. Double pair boards, like these like weird boards, they might not work too well. Yeah, and I mean on the bottom, that's the reason. I already said it, but let's just repeat it again. Like our opponents are capping their ranges. They are capping their ranges with raising too much, right? So on wet boards, I don't know, like let's say like queen 10-9. If they have like king queen, they'll always check raise, flop or turn or something, right? So they are afraid of bad cards falling, which might give them now like from a good hand that can easily go broke to like a mediocre hand. And the problem is that you're just like weakening your range so much, your calling range, that you're basically fucked, right? The thing is, nobody's taking advantage of it, but like this will probably change after this coaching. So everyone who's seeing this, hopefully is starting to go crazy on the button. Yeah, so they're raising too much value on the flop and on the turn, and fish, of course, through donking, right? So they always kept their range with donking. They donk like bottom, mid pairs, draws, and top pairs on the flop. So when they check call, they have like kind of random hands, and then like they might donk again when they do have or they like check call the flop and then they donk the turn when they have a strong hand, or they check call and then donk jam the river when they hit the flush, etc. Right? So yes, they will also end up folding too much. Not as much as regulars, so actually this is working very well against regulars. As always, be careful, right? So take stats when you have a lot of stats into account, like call, like when it's shown after call river, right? So there are some really heavy calling stations, but these are kind of rare. And even against these, you should sometimes just like barrel through. Like they will still find some call falls, right? I mean, there are like 1-2 exceptions I could name where I just not bluffing, but this is actually like pretty rare. I hope you enjoyed the video. So if you are still watching, then feel free to subscribe. And if you want to dig deeper into this situation and you want to see practical examples, we made a MIDI video pack out of it, and I'll drop you a 10% discount link in the description below. And see you there. Bye bye, everyone.